G'day and welcome to Coffee With, a new podcast from Dairy Australia's DairyPod program. I'm Greg Duncan from DairyPod and we'll be having short conversations with people from right across the industry. Today, our very first guest is Dr. Michelle Axford, a dairy farmer and of Datagene fame. Michelle has recently joined Dairy Australia as General Manager for Farmer Delivery, and it's fantastic to have you as our very first guest. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello, Greg. It's lovely to be here and nice to experiment with this new podcast format.
Well, before we get cracking, please just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a dairy farmer from South Gippsland. I've been in Australia for 30 years, but dairy has been probably part of my life really since a very young age. It's very personal to me. I grew up on a dairy farm in Canada, where my brothers still continue to farm on the land, and they've been producing food for that community on the same land for now 150 years. But I migrated to Australia 30 years ago after spending some time at the University of Guelph and a year in New Zealand and then now in Australia. Most of my career has been spent along that whole chain, from education to research to development to extension. And I suppose the nice thing about coming to Dairy Australia is bringing, that experience to the team, and certainly looking forward to working with the crew to make a difference.
What a rich background and quite a journey for you, hey, Michelle. So speaking of journeys, in the first few weeks of your role as Farm Delivery General Manager, you have been visiting many regions with Matt Schaefer and hearing feedback directly from farmers as you go. What are the main takeaways from those conversations, Michelle?
Look, it's been a really special few weeks as I've joined the team and had the opportunity to be on farm and, working with passionate dairy people around the country, an experience that not many of us get the opportunity to do. And so I've been really thankful for that. Thankful for the time that people have taken to speak with us and to share, their pride and their frustrations and their thoughts about where we can go to next. I suppose some of the things that have stood out to me, one is just that passion and the energy for farmers developing their dairy businesses in their contexts. Despite some pretty significant challenges that some of them have faced, whether that be kind of seasonal conditions that haven't worked their way, or the challenges of trying to take their next step in from leasing to purchasing a farm, the challenges that have been associated with pretty significant shocks in terms of, the flood or drought. But despite these challenges, just about everyone has a project that they're working on, and it's been fun to kind of hear about what those projects are. There's also been a lot of pride that people have expressed in their industry, which is quite meaningful to me, given that I think it's a pretty awesome industry to work in. But sometimes some frustration that comes with that, in that they don't see that pride being shared amongst the community, and they'd like to let the community know how many opportunities there are in dairy. And so that's something that resonated really with me. And, it's nice to look back at some of the programs that are there and some programs that will come in terms of how we can continue to, focus on successful dairy stories and share that pride with the people around us. Almost in every region, people talked about not having the right people in the businesses that they are looking for. Sometimes that's about not having enough people to do an entry level work. Other times it's about not having the right people that are ready to take that management step and are really capable of making good decisions in that kind of 2IC kind of area that they'd like to see more of. And so that challenge of having enough of the right people came through just about everywhere we went to. And I think it's associated with that. At the same time, we also have young people that are really incredibly interested in dairy and want to make a career in dairy, but need help to find the right pathways And those pathways are probably out there, but maybe we haven't shared enough of those stories to help people see where they could go to next to develop their own career in dairy.
Some really rich insights there, Michelle. I reckon you've had some fascinating conversations. I can imagine, though, there's been some bits that have been quite challenging. Tell me a bit more about those.
Yeah. As you would expect, people have frustrations in terms of their own businesses that they will share, but also frustrations in terms of how we work together to make a difference and move ourselves forward. An example of that might be just the incredible research that has happened in Australia, sometimes kept undercover. It's a little bit of a secret in some areas. Research that helps us, grow better grass with lower inputs. Research that helps us figure out how we can find cows that have a longer productive life, or animals that have lower calf mortality. Research that goes into understanding business profitability and what that looks like in different regions and in different systems. There's heaps of great research that's out there, but sometimes we don't get the activity and the outcomes and the learnings shared in the right spots. So I think that's a frustration, because it's clearly a big investment for our pooled kind of levy funds. So it's frustrating if we don't necessarily see the outcomes.
Good stuff, Michelle. And look, we're a diverse industry, as you well know, and with that diversity is inherent challenges and complexity, right? So I'm mindful of our time, but I'm just thinking, given you're still quite new in your role, right? So these early stage farmer conversations, how do you see them guiding your work moving forwards? And maybe give us a bit of a peek of something that you're most looking forward to as you transition now into delivery in your role.
Well, just like it is on farm, to be honest, in the Dairy Australia organization, having strong and capable people is really the fundamental basis from which we work. So in my mind, focusing on working with good, strong teams that are able to prompt and support practice change that makes a difference to profit on farm is pretty much the crux of this job. Having teams that are able to kind of amplify and encourage that sort of peer-to-peer learning, because there's nothing better than, learning how to make a difference on your farm by seeing it done on someone else's farm.
Sure.
I also think I'm pretty new, and I think it's good to be open to change as well. We have a clear strategic direction, but we're not necessarily locked into the how we get there. So being open to ideas, to listening, that might be through the regional development programs and other dairy organizations, to be open to evaluating our performance, accept if something's not quite working, and then be able to redirect. So this idea of listening to farmers is not just a kind of short-term 8-week activity to me. This is something that is a constant part of the job, to try and make sure that we use that precious pool of levy funds to invest it in the right way that makes a difference on farm and achieves DA's strategic goals.
Well, Michelle, it sounds like you've had a fascinating time out and about. Unfortunately, whilst we could talk for hours, we are up for time. But I'm sure you look forward to engaging with more farmers and stakeholders as you get more into your role. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been fantastic having you as our first guest. And for listeners, if you have suggestions for who you would like to hear on DairyPod Coffee With, or who you would like to hear from, please email communications@dairyaustralia.com.au with your recommended guest topic, and let's make it happen.